Good evening. You're watching The Urban Debate with me, Aarti Subramaniam. India is facing an unprecedented crisis. In fact, calling it a crisis itself is an understatement in these times. Patients are gasping for breath as they wait by the minute for the hospitals to get oxygen. Hospitals themselves are sending urgent SOSs to the administration, living by the minute literally to get a fresh supply. The kin of patients are running literally from pillar to post with pleated hands begging for hospital beds. But the situation, as per the centre's own estimates, could only get worse. Let me take you through some of the projections that the central government is making. If the current trend continues the way it is right now, by the 30th of April, Maharashtra will have 99,665 cases. With that sort of growth in cases, you can imagine the pressure that it will put on the already burdened health infrastructure. In that case, in Uttar Pradesh, for example, there could be 1,19,604 cases, which is going to consequently result in a shortage in oxygen beds of 16,752. In fact, during the course of the next half hour, I will take you through the top 4 states, the worst affected states, and tell you what the centre's own projections are and what really this means for India's fight against COVID. To discuss that and more, joining us this evening, Dr. Bishnu Panigrahi, the Group Head and Medical Strategy and Operations of Fortis Healthcare, Rajesh Kumar Saraf, the Managing Director of the National Oxygen Limited, and Gopal Krishna Agarwal, spokesperson of the BJP. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you taking out your time. Dr. Panigrahi, if I can start with you. The media is often accused of spreading negativity if we actually show how bad the situation is. For our viewers, for the governments, for state, both as state and centre, I leave it to you to actually tell us the real picture of how grim and how terrible the situation on ground is, the reality of our times.
This is regarding the oxygen you're talking about? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, doctor, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. See this.
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
The oxygen shortage that we are hearing about and which has hurt us very badly is the supply has got very badly disrupted, and it's a hand-to-mouth existence for all the hospitals, all the chains, especially in the Delhi NCR. And Mumbai has not suffered the extent that Delhi NCR has suffered. The Maharashtra government has been smart enough to sort of quickly get supplies from various states from Eastern India. Delhi, we are still having trouble because the consumption has gone up exponentially, number one. And if you look at it, what has happened is that there are 2 sources of oxygen that we really get. One is from the 2 Linde and Inox. And the factories are situated outside Delhi. It's in one is in Haryana, one is in Rajasthan. So they need to come from there. They have to be transported in a liquid oxygen tanker. The tanks are it's a liquid oxygen form. It comes in tankers, and then they come to the respective hospitals. And what has happened is the smaller hospitals, not all of them have a liquid oxygen tank from which the oxygen is supplied to the various areas in the hospital, whether it's the OTs, the ICUs, and the other areas. The smaller hospitals and nursing homes, they depend on the cylinders. So the cylinders again are they're refilled in the respective outlets that are there. So what has happened in the process is that because of this sort of exponential rise in the consumption, the government, the refilling of the cylinders has been confined only to the smaller hospitals and nursing homes. So with the effect, what has happened, the larger hospitals, which were using the liquid oxygen for the regular consumption, and the cylinders were always a backup. So the backup has gone now. And at the same time, the double whammy is that the liquid oxygen that was coming, say just without taking names, if a hospital is requiring 3 tons of consumption every day, so it was coming on a regular basis. So God forbid, even if it is a delay of 1 or 2 days, they had a backup of the cylinders. But now with that backup gone. They are solely dependent on the liquid oxygen that is being sent, whether it's from Rajasthan, whether it's from Haryana, and if you look at the other parts of the country, the same thing is happening. But because in Eastern India, most of the production is there, so they don't suffer. And the other states, whether it's Maharashtra, whether it is Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, they've been able to quickly take the sources from where the supply is happening and sort of fill that gap. But if the consumption goes up further, there may be a problem. And the tweets that happened over the last couple of days that you have been seeing, it is out of desperation. Believe it. In fact, yesterday also, the whole afternoon and evening, I was there in Fort Shalimar Bagh. We were at our knees. And a couple of days back, you had heard about the FMRI Gurugram hospital. Also, same thing happened. But the government did intervene and quickly ameliorated it. But it's every day, it's a day-to-day affair, and this can't continue like this.
It cannot sustain like this. That is true. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, spokesperson of the BJP, you heard that appeal. You heard the reality that we are living in currently. What has the centre been doing all this while along? Why has it taken the situation where we are literally living minute by minute? Hospitals are waiting with a counter clock almost waiting when they are going to get that oxygen. How could you allow the situation to get this bad?
First thing I would like to tell you, nobody was expecting that the surge in the COVID will be so fast and so large, and therefore all the modeling etc. from the expert etc. did not expect that they did not project the real demand, that they could not project the real demand of oxygen. And I tell you, between last 10 days, the central government has increased the supply of oxygen by 3,300 metric tons. And now the total allocation from the central government of the oxygen is 6,822. And the requirement has been said that it is 6,785 metric tons. So central government is doing its bit. The problem is about distribution and logistics of transportation. For that also central government has been doing many things. It has allowed import from for 50,000 metric tons. Then from Singapore, cryogenic containers are being imported. Today, Prime Minister has sanctioned money from the PM CARES for establishment of 551 PSAs. And and then industrial production has been stopped. The thing is that it has to be done to both are involved, center and state. Center has the responsibility of allocating and the overall demand management, and the states have to get that oxygen to their states, and then from there to put up an ecosystem through which they can distribute to various hospitals. And there I find, and even the High Court also had said yesterday, reprimanded AAP, that they are just sitting and not doing on the distribution level. So the crisis is surely there in Delhi, and that is about, even availability is also there, but whatever has been available, the proper distribution is and the management, even the suppliers from Noida and other like Inox etc. have been telling that we have not been given any plan by the Delhi government how which hospital we have to supply, how much we have to supply. So, and even today, Manish Sisodia ji, Deputy Chairman of the Deputy CM of the Delhi, he himself said some of the hospitals are over precautionary, sending tweets, etc. So all things are combined together. So panic itself is creating certain complications in the issue. Though I agree that there is a crisis, there is a shortage.
Gopal Krishna Agarwal, I do though appreciate, yes. Mr. Agarwal, I do actually appreciate your candor in admitting that the government perhaps was unaware and caught napping that the situation could get this bad. And that's a big admission coming right now. Rajesh Kumar Saraf, the Managing Director of the National Oxygen Limited, also joining us this evening. Mr. Saraf, I just want to take you through some numbers. These are the centre's own projections for less than a week actually on how bad the situation can get. Basis these numbers, I just want you to tell us what the oxygen situation is going to be like. We're already seeing a huge crunch. If the situation is what it is on 30th of April, as the government has projected, what is the impact that it is going to have in terms of the oxygen supply and demand? So the center is saying that Maharashtra, as of 30th, the projected cases could be 99,665, which will result in a shortage of ICU beds of 1,489 and a shortfall in ventilators by 1,112. In Uttar Pradesh, it's even more grim, in fact, with the projected cases of 1,19,604, a shortfall in ICU beds of 3,081 and ventilators of over 1,500. In Delhi, the caseload is projected to be 67,134. In fact, in Delhi, a shortage in oxygen beds is projected to be slightly over 16,000, a shortfall in ICU beds 2,877 and ventilators by about 1,500. If this is the trend, if these numbers, and God forbid they don't, but if these numbers actually turn out to be true and accurate, what impact is that going to have?
As far as medical oxygen is concerned, the supplies are coming, but the facilities available in the hospitals for decanting, that is very limited. So the turnaround, what they expect the industry's medical oxygen to be supplied is very frequent because of the number of COVID patients coming in daily for admissions, seeking beds and coming in very critical conditions. This is one reason. The hospitals, when they were set up, they have a particular capacity of requirement for medical oxygen storage facility. So now, if they really have more requirement, which they do have now, they have to install additional storage capacities. Of course, which we are also assisting them in installing storage capacities, additional storage capacities. As we can, in one transport tank, we can load up to 25, 40, 30 tons, 40 tons. There are different ranges of transport tanks we can load liquid oxygen. But the unloading facility there they have is very limited. So we are working with the government and the hospitals to ensure that they have the sufficient storage facilities also, so that supply can be made 24/7 and they don't feel the last minute shortage of oxygen for the COVID patients. The figures which are coming are definitely very alarming.
Take you up on that. There are a lot of
the figures which are coming are very alarming, but we
have
to fight together jointly to ensure that we defeat this COVID.
Well, absolutely. We really do have to come together at this time. But Mr. Saraf, very quickly, we've seen a number of measures being announced by various state governments, by the center. On ground, by the time that actually, actualizes, it actually fructifies. How long in terms of a timeline are we looking at before the oxygen supply stabilizes in various states, especially in NCR?
The supply has been improving day by day. But also you have to understand one more thing, that the cases are also on the rise.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the supply which is not being met. Supplies are being made, supplies are being improved. But on the other hand, the number of COVID patients are also increasing. So, to work along with that is something is a challenge, which of course, every one of us are trying. And we hope that we should be able to defeat this pandemic. And we should, our country should be free from this pandemic at the earliest. The doctors are doing their bit. All our
absolutely. That's something that. Well, Dr. Panigrahi, we're not at the edge of the cliff anymore. We're almost hurtling down. And now it's a question of minimizing the impact. What do we do going forward? I don't know if you managed to catch the numbers that I was, just reading out of the government projections. How do we minimize the numbers from here on? Because hospitals are already overrun. The medical fraternities, their back is literally breaking from the caseload that we have seen. These projections, though, do not look good at all.
No, they do not look good. Definitely, they do not look good. And they are not good either. But it is for the general public also at large to follow the standard operating procedures, what is laid by the government and the health ministry. And certain things are unavoidable
Yeah.
in our country. So if we face the brunt of these things, we have to, take it with a pinch of salt and move forward.
Just to
Everything we cannot be depending on the
Yes.
government.
Dr. Panigrahi, do you want to come in on that?
Yes, sir.
Sorry?
Just to public to know that if you look at the way the North Indian thing is that most of the production that is happening is unable to cope up with the demand that is there because of the exponential rise. And the major production centers are situated in Eastern India. And as I said earlier, the elephant in the room is the logistics. So how do you get all that liquid oxygen transported from Eastern India, whether it's from Bengal, Odisha, Jharkhand, from Chhattisgarh, and where the steel plants are, because they produce a lot of oxygen. And so what I want to say is to the viewers is that there is no shortage of oxygen production. It is how do we get it from the where the place that is produced to the place where the maximum demand is. So that is where we don't have sufficient tankers to get it. So, but at this point of time, as we are speaking, a lot of these tankers have already been flown by, and give credit to the government, sending Air Force flights to the eastern part of the country. Some tankers have already will be reaching today or tomorrow. There's some trains have also been put it as a express trains, which will be coming like a green corridor. But so these will take some time. So I anticipate that sometime by the middle of the coming week, there will be some amelioration. But if as you say, if the numbers keep going up, we still will be in trouble. But the good thing is that we have woken up late. The government has gone ahead and getting the oxygen from the places that are producing it. And at the same time, my humble request to everyone is that to the administration, to the political bureaucracy, is that we should not become parochial and hinder any transport of the oxygens, which will, wherever it is being earmarked, let it go there, because of recently that in the recent past that has happened, and that has caused a lot of panic. So whatever production is happening, whether it's in Haryana, Rajasthan, or nearby states, and it is being earmarked to any hospital, let it go there, because lives matter now. And as a doctor, it is shameful for me to think of oxygen, because it's a very basic thing. Imagine a patient not be unable to get oxygen who's on a ventilator, who's requiring. And the other thing is that, whether you have heard about it, is that the high flow nasal oxygen that is being used in a lot of COVID patients, which has been found to be very effective. But the problem with that is that it's an oxygen guzzler. It takes in a lot of oxygen to use this apparatus, but it has proven to be a very good surrogate for taking care of patients. And very often we don't have to put them on a ventilator, because the data does show you intubate a patient and put on a ventilator, the outcomes are worse vis-a-vis patients who are put on BiPAP or high flow nasal oxygen. So these are the reasons with the huge amount of oxygen is being consumed, and we have to keep pace with that. So it's unfortunate that the cases have gone up and we have not been able to keep up with the demand.
True. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, this is something that Dr. Panigrahi mentioned. It's something that I also wanted to take up with you. The fact that while we may have enough oxygen supply, it's the transportation that is a problem, not just in terms of perhaps not having enough tankers, but also that a number of state governments are holding up the supply of oxygen. It's something that the Haryana government has been accused of. It's something that the Uttar Pradesh government has been accused as well. So there is some politics being brought into the transportation of oxygen as well, when actually lives should take precedence over politics.
Definitely, then the center is acting as an arbitrator in these issues. When we are in a federal structure. If Delhi today is creating a panic and demand, and you are showing that other states like Uttar Pradesh needs 16,000 more beds by 30th April. So we have to prepare. I live in Noida. We have to prepare. So every state has its own problem and its own supply and all constraints. So center in itself, therefore, has been acting as an arbitrator, and they have allocated, even for Uttar Pradesh, we have been allocated some oxygen from Bihar. So it takes 5 to 6 days to transport that. We have arranged for it. So that is very important. Second thing is that airlifting is there, cryogenic containers are being imported, even nitrogen containers are being converted, even the oxygen express is being done. I once would like to tell you that no one government or any state government or center alone can fight this crisis. It has to be a joint. Even private sector has chipped in. So you have to together decide that you cannot say कि only center as to do deal with this problem or the state has to deal with problem. They all have to come together, but ultimately one unified authority is required, and that is best deciding what has to be done. If the Prime Minister is saying that we have ordered 551, it will take time. So it is not that just you decide today and
No,
you
Mr.
just
Agarwal, I agree with you that we need. True. True, it is obviously going to be a long drawn process, but what we can address right now should be addressed. And that's where we're having the problem where the Delhi government, and I'm coming to this specifically, the Delhi government has accused Uttar Pradesh and Haryana of holding up the oxygen that is meant for them. That is my question to you again specifically. Why doesn't the center intervene, as you say, or why is it that these two BJP ruled states are being accused by the national capital of actually holding up their oxygen?
That is the part of politics. I live in Noida. I know Inox supplies oxygen to Delhi. They were saying that Inox is not supplying oxygen to Delhi. It is not supplying to hospitals. When Inox was contacted, they said that we are ready to supply, and we have not been given the plan which hospital needs how much oxygen. And today, Manish Sisodia himself said that some of the hospitals are raising SOS without even they have sufficient quantity and there is no crisis. So this has to be managed by Delhi government. UP government is not stopping. And this kind of crisis, if they have any problem, they can complain to the central government. But as far as UP is concerned, Inox, I am giving you a clear-cut example. They gave a press release. They released that Delhi government has not given any plan where we have to supply, which hospital needs how much. How can we ourselves go through an SOS Twitter and go and supply? It is Delhi government has to manage. Even the High Court has said this. But the solution is that 23,000 oxygen concentrator and mobile oxygen extractor have been ordered from Germany. They are being airlifted by the center, and I think that will also release the problem from the people. And I think panic is not required. Crisis is there because many people are holding. I know many people just without actually at present requiring huge oxygen. They are keeping up the cylinders in their houses. I don't deny that they have a right to keep it, but that kind of panic is also becoming a cause of exploding the demand. So demand management, when PUG or any minister says that demand management is also a part of management, demand and supply, and both have to be managed by a regulatory authority or part of the governance model. I think the government has failed in that their management of this kind, and there is a crisis. I know in the crisis you have to be more proactive, more efficient, more active, and not create panic of the crisis.
Well, yes, you do have to be proactive. I agree. In a time of crisis, we have unfortunately been reactive and not proactive. We're completely out of time, gentlemen. I thank you. I appreciate you taking your time out. By the centre's own projections, we are hurtling down the cliff. Now is the time to come together, center and the state. We need to keep aside our differences. The citizens of this country need to do their bit as well, because if these centers' projections turn out to be true, it is going to be a very bleak situation in India. Thanks for watching.